This afternoon, we're very honored to have, bringing the keynote address, a pleasant and very affable young man, a distinguished doctor, Dr. Vance Gilbert. Vance was born in the village of Tabernacle, and he attended the Keon High School. Upon leaving school and on pursuing tertiary education, he studied medicine in Cuba and returned in 2005 to practice in St. Kitts. Vance is actively involved in community groups, some of which include the Scouts. He's also a lieutenant in the St. Kitts-Nevis Defense Force. Vance became a member of the St. Kitts-Nevis Labour Party executive officially in 2012. Through his compassion and because of his love of community and country, he has offered himself for greater service by putting his name forward for the candidacy for number 7. This afternoon, we have with us a very distinguished and prominent young doctor, Dr. Vance Gilbert.
His Excellency, Sir Edmund Lawrence and Lady Lawrence, Acting Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Earl Aston Martin, Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Curtis Martin, members of Cabinet, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the clergy, family of the late Comrade France and Southwell, members of the executive of the St. Kitts-Nevis Labour Party, members of the St. Kitts-Nevis Labour Party, friends and well-wishers, a very pleasant good afternoon to you all. Say good afternoon, it's okay. Good. Today, we pay homage to the late Joseph Nathaniel France, KCMG, CBE, JP, a man on whom many honors have been bestowed. Yet, a man who sought not official accolades, but the opportunity to be of service to those least able to defend themselves in a sometimes harsh and cruel world. By the standards that he set for himself, and by the standards set for us all by all the world's leading religions, Sir Joseph Nathaniel was an extraordinary human being. It is clear that his life was guided by those powerful words from the book of Matthew. I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. And so, today, we thank and honor him. May we be inspired and lifted up and improved as human beings, all of us, by the shining example of his life. Joseph Nathaniel France was born in Mount Lily, Nevis, on the 16th of September, 1907, to Thomas and Mary France. He came to St. Kitts at the tender age of 13 to spend school holidays with his relatives in Newtown, Basseterre. Before the holidays ended, he was offered a job as office boy with the St. Kitts-Nevis Universal Benevolent Association Limited, a friendly society then called the Union. France later became a printer at the Progressive Printer Limited, which in 1921 started a publication of a newspaper, the Union Messenger. And this paper, interestingly, was edited by Jem Matthew Sebastian, the father of the former Governor General, Sir Cuthbert Montrevel Sebastian. As a champion of the underprivileged, the paper paved the way for the formation of the St. Kitts Workers' League in 1932. It was this league that then became our St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla Labour Party. As one of the early members of the Workers' League, France took active part in labour programs to educate the working population to regard the need to organize for the advancement of their common interest. He remained in the front lines of labour leaders and filled the important role of peacemaker at the time of the Buckley's riot in 1935. In 1938, Sir Joseph was elected Secretary of the Workers' League and gave evidence before the Royal West India Commission of 1938 to 1939, which was appointed to inquire into the social and economic conditions in the British Caribbean. 2 years later, he was elected as the first General Secretary of the St. Kitts-Nevis Trades and Labour Union, and as a measure of the esteem in which he was held, was re-elected every year until his death on May 21st, 1997. Mr. France was elected to the St. Kitts-Nevis Anguilla Parliament in July 1946. At that time, there were just 3 elected representatives provided for St. Kitts under the Constitution, Ordinance of 1937. The 2 other elected representatives being Comrade Robert Llewellyn-Bracher and Maurice H. Davis, the late Sir Maurice Davis, who went on to become Chief Justice of the West Indies Supreme Court. In keeping with his character and interests, Comrade France served as member of Social Services from 1952, before a full ministerial system was introduced in 1960, when he became Minister of Social Services under Chief Minister, the Honourable C.A. Paul Southwell. It is therefore easy to see why the new hospital in Basseterre, built in 1967, was immediately named in his honour. Joseph N. France, at the time of his death in 1997, had the distinction of being the longest-serving parliamentarian in the English-speaking Caribbean, having successfully contested 9 general elections, 1946, 1952, 1957, 1961, 1966, 1971, 1975, 1980, and 1984. Whew. That's a lot. And Sir Joseph, we will remember, represented West Basseterre beginning in 1952, when all of our people, regardless of race or class, were at last given the right to vote, a right for which he, Mr. Southwell, Mr. Bracher, and all of the other Labour stalwarts had fought long and hard. It is important to note that Mr. France was a man of many talents. Indeed, members of the older generation would be able to remember that he provided background music for the movies at the local movie theatre, which in those days there was just silent films. No sound, just pictures. And the beautiful melodies of Sir Joseph Nathaniel France playing in the background. In 1978, he was awarded the honour of Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, and in 1996, King Commander of St. Michael and St. George by Her Majesty the Queen. And everyone who knew him knew that he was selfless, humble, a man of serenity and calm judgment. Joseph Nathaniel France was a statesman, quiet and unassuming. Jane France, nonetheless, never backed away from a challenge. And the greater the challenge, the more convincingly he rose to meet it. He always put other people's interests first, never lost the common touch, and in spite of his countless accomplishments, remained a simple man, living a humble lifestyle in modest accommodations. He and his Labour comrades of the day understood that the working masses were the motive force behind social progress. They understood that the dedication and focus of the people of these islands, the people of whom and with whom they worked, would indeed always be the decisive factor in positive social transformation and the creation of a more open and just society. They knew that the masses at that time needed and deserved social and economic change. And they knew it was those same masses, through sheer tenacity and hard work, would bring that change about. It was from the ranks of those masses that the outstanding founders of the great Labour Party emerged, proving that what had been holding our people back had never been a lack of ability, but simply a lack of opportunity. And so, Comrade France and our other founders encouraged and strengthened and guided the people of these islands so that the current Labour administration could pick up where they left off, with the people of the country occupying positions for which their ability equips them, and leading to the socio-historical development that has been so dramatic throughout the history of our federation. Without the leadership of yesteryear, the poor of our nation would never have been given the opportunities that today allow their offsprings and the offspring for generations to come to aspire and achieve in ways that their parents and grandparents could never have imagined. Without their leadership, none of us in this church and none of us in these islands, unless we were members of the plantocracy, would have what we now take for granted: the right to vote, free education, health care, freedom of speech, loans and scholarships for university education. In other words, the right to hope and dream. And all of these blessings are the direct result of the vision and sacrifices of our fallen heroes, continued and built upon by those who are carrying the torch that they lit 81 years ago today. If Comrade France was here today, he would not be surprised to see over 4,000 houses that have been constructed by the Labour government that he began, allowing so many to elevate their economic and social situation, just as he hoped for. He would not be amazed at the well-built, solid homes that are now commonplace in every village, every corner of this country, owned by the descendants of the enslaved. If Comrade France were alive today, he would not be surprised by the hundreds, alas, thousands of professionals who now live in confidence and optimism all through St. Kitts-Nevis as a result of the Labour government of his time and of this one. He would be pleased indeed to know that the second to last child of poor country people from Tabernacle would get the opportunity to study medicine and stand here today paying homage to him and those who worked alongside him in this annual address. He would not be surprised to see a number of young people who would leave our shores in a few months to go off to distant and foreign lands to pursue higher education, reaching as far as Taiwan, because this is what he and Bracher and Southwell had dreamed of, and is what they expect this Labour government to be doing as a means of honouring them. And he would be pleased to know that these same young people will one day return to our lands, like I did, to continue the work of others that made so clear a path for them. If Comrade France was alive, he would not be surprised to see the development we have seen in healthcare, where healthcare is accessible, available, integrated all around our federation, where local sons and daughters of the soil are at the helm of every sector of the healthcare system. If he was alive, he would not be surprised to see the infrastructural development that has occurred all around our land, for this was indeed his vision. And this Labour government has remained true to that vision. None of these advances would surprise Comrade France. If Comrade France was here today, however, he would be very surprised at the current political atmosphere in which we find ourselves today. He would find it hard to understand the actions of some. And he would be hurt to see certain attacks on the institution that he and others worked so hard to build. But Comrade France was a positive man, a man of faith and confidence, full confidence, as we are. And so, because of full confidence and in full confidence, we move on. Because I also know that he would be pleased to see our united Labour Party, perhaps a stronger Labour Party, a party which has approached this situation with clinical skill to ensure that this great party continues doing the work of the people it has been called to serve. He would be pleased to see a united cabinet with a strong leader that commands the respect and the support of the majority of the members of Parliament, while steering this country ahead through difficult and trying times, but to a greater and brighter future. He would be happy to see that the party still attracts young people who are willing and ready to serve, to stand up in the midst of stormy seas and be counted and say, I am ready. Yes, indeed, I am ready to serve. He would be proud to see that women have taken up leadership roles within our country and indeed our party. And he would smile, I am sure, to see that the Honourable Marcella Liebert, a female, and an outstanding female at that, she was my teacher, has assumed the role of chairman in the party that he worked so hard to build. If he passed here today, he might say to us, hold on, thou good and faithful servants. He might say, press on and carry out the task laid before you with dignity, humility, and faithfulness, and thus shall be your eternal reward. He would remind our present leaders to remember why they became involved in public service. Perhaps it was an isolated incident, or perhaps it was some great passion to make a difference, or maybe it was something simple as seeing your parents go through such hardships to make ends meet. And maybe that was it that motivated you to try and make a difference. He would remind us that there are good days and bad days. Days when you will not always see eye to eye. There will be those days when you question your very reason for being. There will be days when the painful conversation must be had. When as leaders you are forced to say, I am sorry, we have done all we can. Or perhaps there is not enough funding. Still, the global recession is affecting our economy. And there will be those days when a mother sees you across a room and smiles with gratitude. Or that a woman will shout your name hard in the middle of Bastille as she remembers the promise fulfilled. The days that makes you proud when one of the children from your constituency graduates from university and returns ready to serve. Those are the days that makes you proud. The days when all the training, the sleepless nights, the phone calls, the criticisms, and the frustrations of the things you can't control somehow converge to lift you up and focus your attention on what it means to serve the people of this great federation of ours. And he might tell us to remember that service means putting others before ourselves, the number one job, the job numero uno. Whether it means ensuring that our education system is accessible, progressive, and of high standard, or that we develop universal health insurance and put in place long service gratuity to ensure all our women and men who have worked so many years can have something at the end of the day. That service means developing a tourism product second to none. It means ensuring that every home has a computer and that we become a computer-literate nation. It means ensuring that we continue to provide opportunities for all people at all levels of society to advance themselves. That service means continuing to provide alternative energy in this era of global energy challenges. What other job can one name that provides the chance to impact thousands of people's lives for the good on a daily basis? What else could one do that would put to the test every day one's commitment to the values of honesty and respect and fairness and tolerance and innovation and compassion? Only in public service do we get to show up every single day, challenged to be our best for other people in every single decision, every single action, every single hour. And today, as we pay tribute to our fallen comrades, we remember that Comrade France and the other fallen leaders of our great party stood up every day of their lives, knowing that they could not do everything, but always tried their very best to do whatever they could, to the best of their ability, for the lasting benefit of us all. May we, like them, therefore, forever endeavor to do our best, regardless of the challenges, for the good that we can do. May God continue to honor the memory of our fallen comrades. And may God continue to bless us and guide us each and every day. I thank you.